All right, let's jump right in. Think about something you've probably walked past on the beach 100 times and maybe didn't give a second thought. Seaweed. But what if I told you that this stuff, this humble ocean plant, could actually be one of our best shots at building a better future? Yeah, we're talking about the ocean's green gold. I know. It sounds a little too good to be true, right? A simple ocean plant solving our biggest global problems? But that's the big question we're tackling. Can this marine algae really make a dent in the massive challenges we're facing? Well, the evidence is starting to pile up, and it suggests we should be paying very close attention. And here's the kicker. This isn't some one-trick pony. Seaweed is like a Swiss Army knife for global problems. For starters, it can suck up huge amounts of carbon to help fight climate change. At the same time, it can create jobs and lift coastal communities out of poverty. Oh, and you can turn it into biodegradable materials to replace all that plastic we're drowning in. And on top of all that, it's a super sustainable source of food. I mean, what a resume for a single organism. Okay, to really get a feel for this, let's zoom in. We're going to leave the big global picture behind for a second and travel to the coast of Tanzania. This is a place where seaweed isn't just some abstract idea, it's a way of life. And it's a story that's packed with both incredible potential and some serious peril. And right away, you see the human side of this story. Get this. In Tanzania, an estimated 80% of all seaweed farmers are women. That's huge. The entire industry rests on their shoulders. For them, this is a path to economic empowerment, to independence. So when we talk about seaweed in Tanzania, we're really talking about the success of these women. But here's where the story gets complicated. Despite all that hard work, a Tanzanian farmer might only make 20 to 40 bucks a month. Now compare that to a farmer in Southeast Asia doing the same work. They can pull in around $120. So what gives? Why the massive gap? Well, it all comes down to what happens after the seaweed is harvested. And this chart, this just says it all, doesn't it? A whopping 99% of Tanzania's seaweed is just shipped out raw. Only a tiny 1% gets processed in the country into things like cosmetics or food additives. You see the problem. All that potential profit, all that added value is literally being shipped overseas, leaving the farmers who did the hardest work with just pennies on the dollar. But change is in the air. A new processing plant, the Zanzibar Seaweed Company, or ZASCO, is about to be a total game changer. The goal? To take that local processing from a measly 1% all the way up to 10%. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but that single shift could completely rewrite the economic rules, keeping more money in the community and putting it right where it belongs, in the pockets of those female farmers. Okay, so that's Tanzania. Now let's pull the camera back out, because this story isn't happening in a vacuum. All around the world, coastal nations are having their own aha moment with seaweed. We're going to hop over to Latin America and look at three neighbors, Chile, Peru, and Ecuador, because each one is taking a totally different approach to this green gold rush. And this is where it gets super interesting. You've got three different playbooks here. First up is Chile. They're the old pros, the industrial leaders. They're already processing kelp into valuable stuff like alginates, the gelling agents and everything from ice cream to medicine. They're even figuring out how to make money from blue carbon, which is just the carbon their seaweed soaks up. Then you have Peru. They're the rising star, pumping out tons of raw kelp. But now they need to invest in farming tech to climb up that value ladder. And finally, there's Ecuador, the innovator. They're using smart government policies and even growing seaweed alongside their shrimp farms to jump straight to high-value products. Three countries, three very different paths to the same goal. All right, so we've seen the people, we've seen the national plans. Now let's talk about the future. This is the really cool sci-fi stuff, the cutting-edge science that's turning what is basically sea slime into a whole range of revolutionary super materials. And this is unlocking a massive new global market. And I'm not kidding when I say massive. Check this out. By 2030, new seaweed products are projected to create an additional $11.8 billion in market value. That's billion with a B. We're not just talking about seaweed salad here. We're talking about a brand new bioeconomy driven by high-tech applications. So where is all that cash coming from? Well, look at these markets. We're talking biostimulants. That's a fancy word for natural fertilizers that help farmers grow more food. Then there's the alternative protein market, which is just exploding, and seaweed is a perfect fit. And of course, bioplastics, a real solution to our global plastic nightmare. Every single one of these is already a multi-billion-dollar industry on its own.
Okay, now this next one might be one of the most powerful. It turns out if you add just a little bit of a certain kind of seaweed to cattle feed, it can dramatically cut the amount of methane that they burp out. And that is a huge deal because methane is a greenhouse gas that's 28 times more potent than CO2. This is a legitimate climate solution right here.
And the whole turning seaweed into plastic thing, it might sound like alchemy, but it's actually pretty straightforward. You harvest the seaweed, you dry it out, you pull out its natural polymers, mix in some stuff to make it flexible, and boom, you've got these little pellets. From there, you can mold them into anything you want, packaging, containers, you name it. And the best part, it all biodegrades. It's a closed-loop system powered by the ocean. So let's just take a breath here. The potential is, honestly, it's staggering. We're talking about empowering women in places like Tanzania, creating entirely new billion-dollar industries, and literally helping to heal the planet. But as we stand here at the very beginning of this green gold rush, we've got to be smart about it. We have to make sure the benefits are shared by everyone, not just a select few.
And really, that brings us to the big final question, doesn't it? This isn't just about technology or economics. At its core, this is about people. With so much potential on the line, how do we make sure this green revolution benefits both the planet and the people who depend on it? How do we build this industry the right way, from the ground up? That might be the most important challenge of all.